Just don't ruin that 25 RPM group that I put there for you.
Yeah. What a nice guy.
Woof.
I'm going to be honest, I don't like these crosshairs this thick on a
No,
PS5.
I don't like it
I
either.
can't see third base at all. I blame that shot on me.
About an inch and a half.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I really don't like the crosshairs. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to kind of have a deep dive talk about a scope that has been a little bit disappointing, that really probably isn't meant for my type of shooting and hunting. Today, we are going to talk all about the Leupold VX-5HD, the 3 to 15 by 44 millimeter. We're going to talk about why this scope has been extremely disappointing for me, at least in this setup, in this rifle. It kind of doesn't really make sense. So let's get into it. So first off, let me give a huge shout out to one of my viewers named John. He was the person that is letting me borrow this. So he sent this to my local FFL. And so it's in my hands for at least probably 2 or 3 more months. This is a custom 22 Creedmoor with a 26-inch barrel. It's a really cool rifle. It's really a lightweight setup, so it's got the Peak 44 stock. This is, here, I'll turn this around. This is a Tikka T3 action. Super smooth, very nice. It's got a Lilja barrel. Again, Peak 44 Weatherby stock, and then it has the VX-5 HD on it. Let's just go into why I'm pretty disappointed by this Leupold scope, okay? So, first off, let's get this out of the way. This is about as pure hunting scope as you can get, okay? It has the duplex fire dot reticle, and I think this is where it all stems of where I really don't care for it, is really the reticle. I personally believe, especially in a 22 Creedmoor, this reticle is too fat and too big. I literally cannot see what I'm aiming at when I'm shooting groups at 100 yards at 15 times zoom. That's really what it comes down to, is this scope is not a range scope whatsoever. In fact, I would go far as say this is a boomer scope that someone's going to shoot once before they go hunting, and then they use it hunting, and it works great. But as far as someone like me that goes to the range quite often, this scope just doesn't really cut it for me. You know, I really can't see what I'm aiming at. All right, I'm trying my best to show you the reticle. Now this is at like 5 times, so it's not that bad. But when you put it up at 15, you're trying to shoot a little target at 100 yards, it's really, really tough to see. Now, one redeeming quality this does have, it does have the fire dot reticle, which admittedly, by my own mistake, I just need to use it more, and maybe it will help, but I still think the reticle is way too thick. Okay, there it is with the fire dot on it. So, kind of a handy little feature that I just need to use more. All right, so here's the proof. This is a VX-5 HD. We are a 3 to 15 by 44. One other complaint that a lot of people have about specifically the VX-5 Gen 1 is the turret. I gotta agree, very mushy, not great, and one of the biggest complaints about one of these scopes, and maybe Leupold in general, is that tracking is not great in it. I personally haven't had that issue yet. I am shooting a 22 Creed though, but so far as tracking goes, I've had no issues with this scope. For those that have been on the channel for a few months, you know I have a Leupold VX-6HD that I do really like. I do think it has somewhat of similar problem with this duplex reticle, which I did get. A friend convinced me to get the duplex reticle with the fire dot. So here's the VX6. This is the 3 to 18 by 50 millimeter. Personally, look, some of you might argue there's not a huge difference. when I'm bashing the VX5 and I'm praising the VX6, but I do think the extra 3 zooms does make a difference. I feel like I can see my target a little better. The reticle doesn't seem as fat, but that could just be, I could be completely off. But personally, I do think I like the VX5 a little bit better. One of the big reasons, again, they fixed this. It just feels so much better than the Gen 1 VX5. One more thing when I've been comparing this VX-5HD to the VX6 HD Gen 2, again, maybe I'm completely off, but just looking through it at the exact zooms, you know, I can go to 15 in my VX6. The reticle really does look skinnier in the VX6. Not by a lot, but it does. So, look guys, I think Leupold makes a good scope. I think they're extremely overpriced for what you're getting, but there's a handful of companies where you pay for their name, and I think Leupold is one of them. So yeah, it's assembled in America, so it's going to cost a little more, but the glass is Japanese glass for both of these. And let's get this out of the way. The Leupold glass is very nice. You know, it's not top of the line, but it's very solid, and no one's going to ever have a complaint. So the big problem for me is I feel like it just needs a different reticle for this VX5 for 3 to 15. I understand they have different reticles. So in this rifle where, you know, I could go prairie dog shooting, which also isn't ideal to have this huge fat reticle, and then I mostly am shooting this at targets, paper targets, I just don't think it fits this 22 Creedmoor in this rifle setup. But you guys let me know, what's your experience with the VX5? I hear a lot of people love it and people hate it. It's kind of some mixed results with this scope. All right, I just want to go on one rant, and maybe a warning for those that are getting into a Leupold VX scope. You know, Leupold for many, many years has proudly touted that they have a custom dial system, meaning you give them your ballistics, your bullet weight, your elevation, the velocity, all of that, they will give you a custom turret. So instead of thinking in MOA like this is, you know, you just dial it out to 300 yards and you just go straight there and then bam. It works great in theory, right? Here's the problem. Let's say I'm shooting, you know, prairie dogs in Wyoming at 7,000 feet. I get Leupold to make me a custom dial turret for it. But hey, someone just offered a hunt down in Texas, and I want to use my 22 Creedmoor. Now, this dial system is completely obsolete and worthless because of the elevation change, the temperature change. And as a hand loader, the dial system is completely useless to me. You know, I like to tinker and I like to try different bullets just about every season. Leupold's not willing to send me a new turret every year, so I'm kind of stuck with the one that I initially made. So in 2026, it's just not needed. I understand probably most people aren't using it. It's probably just, well, the boomers that think it's awesome and go and get it ordered from Leupold. But anyway, there's my rant.